Good evening, everybody. We have a lot of writers and a lot of scripts to go over this evening. I am your host, Preston. I had a great weekend at Fan Expo Dallas. I'm glad to have that over and done with. It was a profitable weekend. I made connection with the Soska sisters, um, whom Eric July. I'd never heard of them until Eric July started using them, but Diane's like a fan, and so I dropped by, and they're very pleasant couple. And I gifted a copy of Palace, and Jen Soska just very excited, read it, came back and said, I love it. And actually, as I put in my Discord, she said, I've been a professional dominatrix for years. This book is completely authentic. I'm like, that's. I don't know if that's something I want to put. Maybe that is a pull quote.
Yo, dude, you're absolutely putting that blurb on the cover of this episode.
Okay. I know. I'm like, I don't know if I want that full. Maybe, yeah, I want that full quote.
I mean, your book's no Sunstone, but like,
yeah. Which, by the way, I could not make it past page 4 of Sunstone. I was like, I'm done. I hated it. I don't understand why people like the damn thing. But
the art is a lot of that.
Oh, well, okay, but the art was kind of my issue because, like, you could take the heads off of the pair and just switch them, and I couldn't tell the difference. Like, they have the exact same body type.
That is very 2000s.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, like, it was striking. I think it was the guy was like serializing it on DeviantArt or something.
Yeah, no.
So, like, the other reason why it did well is, of course, he just had a huge fan base.
Yeah, yes, he had a huge fan base. Yeah. And I don't, and that's okay, and I understand.
Dude, I mean, if a version of yours with like slightly more cartoony art, like Spike and Iron Circus would sell the fuck out of it. She loves smut.
Okay, all right. Well, but yeah, I'm glad to know Palace. I mean, look, Palace has been a hit for me.
Yeah, I sold 4 copies over the weekend.
There you go. Yeah.
I was at small events in Oshawa and Peterborough, Ontario. So like just half-day shows.
Yeah.
Palace did the job. Brought people in. Lots of D&D folks and like all of that. Like we're really into it.
I'm glad.
And it did pretty well. So.
And as I was telling John, there was a lady that came up to my table and I'm like, I got the Palace trade. She's like, no, I already bought all the individual issues and it's my favorite story. I'm like, thank you. So people like it. I don't people like it. I don't know. Anyway, it's all right. We got a whole bunch of people on a whole bunch of scripts. Let's see. We got Project Delta was from last week.
We haven't finished. Well, when we get back around to new stuff, we still haven't finished the Lost Callers list either.
Okay.
But I guess we start with.
We only had like 3 pages left of that, right, Danny?
Yes, although I'm happy to throw in a couple more since Larry and Godwin and Robert, missed that like the other week.
Okay. All right. Project Delta. All right, John. So we had some hackers. They were doing some. I remember a lot happened in the first 10 pages, and I'm a fan of that. Can you refresh my memory?
Okay. So in the first 10 pages, basically pages 1 through 9 are all about Marcus when he's 14.
Yes. Yes.
Then it ends abruptly when he gets caught hacking into his school.
Yes.
Now, then we fast forward 5 years later. I presented you guys a scene with the FBI. Based on your feedback, I rewrote that scene. Now, from last time we talked about the FBI guys in the FBI, and then we went to the prison where Avalon was interviewing Marcus. So this basically is going to be a rewrite of the FBI scene, and then we fast forward to the second half of the prison interview scene.
Okay.
Interview. Okay.
Who's narrating?
Interior, John Avalon's condo bedroom night. Super 5 years later. FBI Deputy Assistant Director John Avalon, late 40s, divorced, but still wearing his wedding ring, sleeps until the cell phone beside his bed illuminates and vibrates. Avalon grabs it instinctively before his eyes are open.
Sir, we have a breach. Go secure.
Avalon sits up. He's awake now. He taps his phone, and the phone app turns red.
What's the situation?
We lost the plane.
Avalon stands stretching, curtains flutter by a large window revealing the Washington, D.C. Mall.
You're going to have to be more specific.
We lost Air Force One. A Trojan got through our firewalls. Transponders are deactivated, and we've been unable to reach them on comms. We don't know where it is.
Avalon heads to his closet.
Has A.D. Ellison contacted Deputy Director Jace to alert the Pentagon?
We've been unable to reach him, sir.
Avalon throws the closet door open, grabbing his suit.
Well, get the Deputy Director on the phone. Have him get every available F-18 to scour the skies and find our plane.
Interior, FBI headquarters, Cybercrimes Division night. Hot coffee thermos in hand. Why is it night suddenly? Avalon braves the chaotic division office. Analysts run back and forth from cubicles. On mute, a large monitor on the wall streams a 24/7 news outlet, Global News Network.
GNN.
Agent Coleman runs up to Avalon. John, by the way, if you were saying something, you were muted.
Coleman, where's our plane?
I was saying it was night in the previous scene. It's not night suddenly for some reason.
Cool.
Okay. Still missing.
As Avalon and Coleman head towards Avalon's office, the busy analysts all stop what they're doing to stare at the large monitor. Avalon and Coleman stop walking, following their gaze. Angle large monitor. A live helicopter shot of a burning plane wreckage sprawled across 3 residential houses. Fire trucks on site fight the blaze. The scrolling Chiron, which is spelled with an I, by the way.
No, it's not. I looked it up.
Yeah.
Oh, hold up. We may an unexpected additional reader. Oh my goodness! Welcome.
Oh my God! They let me go early.
They did.
Hey, Diane.
Hey.
Plane crash in Wichita. Flight number unknown. Wichita Fire Marshal on site. On Avalon and Coleman, still fixated on the developing story.
Is that?
Get the Kansas City ASAC down there now.
I'm on it.
Agent Jackson, give me volume.
Agent Jackson grabs the remote, unmutes the monitor. Angle large monitor. The live helicopter video of the burning wreckage continues.
We need a news reporter. Diane, you can be that.
The fire marshals have cornered off the area and escorted everyone back, but not before our on-the-ground correspondent, Lee Chin.
Die. Oh,
Diane's again.
Diane.
Are you okay?
Something spicy.
I'll say.
Sorry, I was eating. Wow.
Sometimes you just
correspondent Lee Chin took these photos.
While blurry, the text and color markings are clear to anyone that knows the burning plane is Air Force One. On Avalon, Avalon stares at the monitor, shocked. It takes a few seconds for him to process.
Where are we?
News reporter off screen continued, "Oh my God, it's."
Oh, okay. I read the wrong line. I'm sorry. Oh my God, it's.
Avalon looks around the room. Everyone stares at him, waiting for orders.
Air Force One. We have confirmed Air Force One has crashed in Wichita.
Somebody be Jackson.
Sir, what are your orders?
Where is Assistant Director Ellison?
We don't know.
Agent Coleman returns, handing off his cell phone to Avalon.
ASAC Henderson.
Avalon takes a quick second to compose himself before taking the phone.
This is Deputy Assistant Director John Avalon. You're to take full control of the scene. Retrieve the black box and report everything through this office.
Am I
Yes, sir.
right.
Avalon hands Coleman's phone back to him.
Oh, were you? Oh.
Did the agents get to A.D. Ellison's house?
They've confirmed he's not there.
Avalon marches to FBI Assistant Director William Ellison's office door with Coleman steps behind. Grabbing the handle, he finds it locked. He jiggles the knob, slams his shoulder into the door. It doesn't budge. Coleman runs up to him.
Sir, Director Ellison is MIA.
No shit.
Do you want me to call maintenance?
Avalon turns to an agent standing guard by the elevators.
You, agent.
The agent approaches.
Yes, sir.
Hand me your sidearm.
The agent hands him the pistol.
Weapon discharge.
Avalon fires twice on the door lock, bang, bang, then kicks the door open. He hands the pistol back to the agent.
Thank you, agent. At ease.
Interior California Federal Penitentiary Security Room Day. Guard Jim inserts the USB into the computer. Monitor. File Explorer opens showing Hot Chicks and Cars 13.mkv. Guard Jim clicks on it. There is a second delay. How was there a first delay?
That's a good question.
1 second, right? You mean
There's
1
a
second?
1 second. There's a second delay.
So a
1
1
second delay.
There's
Yeah.
a 1 second delay.
I see. Before the video starts playing, the title sequence. Security room. Smugly, guard Bob crosses his singular arm.
See? Now who's laughing?
I like that guard Bob only has one arm. I have no idea how he can cross it, but I love that he has that. Suddenly, the lights flicker off, then back on. An alarm sounds as the CCTV shuts off. The door clicks, locking them inside cell block. The cell doors slam shut as the alarms continue. The inmates go to the gates looking around.
What
Guard.
the shit is this?
Interview room. Avalon leans forward, putting down pressure on Marcus.
April Jacoby, 14 years old and fighting cancer. I hear St. Vincent's is one of the best children cancer hospitals in the country. It's kind of lucky she got in, considering admittance is based on their funding.
Keep my sister out of this.
Marcus is 17, by the way.
That's a fine voice.
Keep my sister out of this.
There you go.
There you go. Excellent. Bravo.
Look, my point is, do you want to spend whatever of her remaining months or years she has in here or by her side?
The door clicks as the alarm sounds. Guard Charlie pulls on the door handle. Locked.
What the hell?
Avalon and Marcus turns as guard Charlie takes out his key fob, pressing it against the reader,
Mike, you should open this.
Avalon and Marcus exchange glances.
Don't look at me. I was here the whole time.
Officer, is your phone on the network?
Guard Charlie hands his smartphone to Avalon.
Volume up and hold the power.
I've been doing this since before you were born. I know how to gain root access to a smartphone.
All right. Just some of you old people aren't up on all the new tech.
Angle phone. Avalon types codes into the phone's command line. Insert codes here. Interview room. Avalon looks up confused.
Says all systems secured.
Check the active processes.
I did. Nothing.
Marcus holds out his hand. Avalon stares at him. Marcus waves his hand impatiently.
If I find out you had something...
Yeah. Give me the phone, old man.
Avalon hands him the phone. Angle phone. Marcus types into the command line. Insert code here. Interview room. Marcus rolls his eyes.
Idiots. Does the name Loki mean anything to you?
Shit.
I'll take that as a yes.
Angle phone. Marcus continues decoding. Insert code here. Interview room. Marcus smiles at his ingenuity. He still has it after 3 years. Didn't we start on? There was like a break, right?
Yeah, we jumped pages.
Okay. Marcus's line. All right.
Okay. Found it. The Trojan was embedded into the video file. Another government employee slacking on the job.
Marcus shoots Avalon a look.
See, this is why I don't want to work with you. You're all dumb me down.
The phone beeps. Angle phone. Text appears. Took you long enough, Delta. Marcus types, "You got my attention." Along with the FBI. Text appears. Tell Excalibur to return to the lake. Interview room. Marcus shoots Avalon a confused look.
What?
He said, tell Excalibur to return to the lake.
Avalon lets out a deep sigh.
Shit.
You're Excalibur. I should have guessed. See, I'm with you for 5 minutes and I'm already slipping.
Just find out what Lucky wants.
Angle phone. Marcus types, "Why are you here? What do you want?" Text appears. "First, I need to know if you are worth my time. You have 10 seconds. I am a 3-digit number. Remove my middle digit and I become 1/9 of what I was. What number am I?" Interview room. Marcus looks up thinking.
What?
Marcus hands Avalon the phone, starts pacing the room.
I am a 3-digit number. Remove my middle digit and I become 1/9 of what I was. What number am I?
Avalon looks up at Marcus, who mouths the calculations as he works through them.
3-digit numbers divisible by 9. 108, 117, 126.
315. Remove the middle digit and you get 35.
35 times 9.
Marcus takes the phone back. Angle phone. Tying. 315. Text appears. Very good. I think we're going to be good friends. Interview room. Click. The interview room door unlocks. The sirens quiet down and the lights stop flashing. Angle phone. Text on the phone appears. You should take Excalibur up on his offer. It will be easier to chat. Ciao. Interview room. Marcus hands the phone back to Avalon and picks up the employment contract.
I'll need 24 hours to look this over.
You have 2 minutes. I'm on a bit of a time crunch. Are you in or out?
The end.
All right. How about that? That's a John Lamont script, unlike any I've ever seen, John. That's some very procedural stuff. The president died, presumably, when Air Force One crashed.
Oh yeah, lots of people died.
Yeah.
That number took all its clothes off.
Yeah. We have mistakes.
And it even put Irwin into the witness protection program.
I see that with all that dark. He's got the shadow over his face.
Yeah.
In a nice steel box with a shadow over his face.
Well, he decided to give himself like a good thematic background for the prisoner.
I think Irwin is low-key. That's what I think.
Well, I liked it. I mean, we have our conflict. We have our protagonist. I think we have everything. What do you think, Dan?
I came in half of it so far. I liked it.
All right, fair enough. Danny.
I think the beginning is slightly more bland, but that's actually better for the movie as a whole. That first bit, because it establishes pretty clearly what's going on. I think the second bit was fine. You did strip a number. It is a John Lamont script. And that entire sequence was like actually quite well executed, except for that there was no tension whatsoever involving the guards. And I don't know if you skipped over that bit or just sort of start there with the guards.
We started kind of in the middle of that scene. We picked up where we left off at the last time because the FBI rewrite scene was only 3 pages. So that was all that I rewrote. So I just filled in the extra 7 with the next 7 pages that were in the script that we didn't get to.
Yeah. So the reason I was asking about the bit with the prison scene is because, I mean, you successfully make what's his name smarter than the FBI agent, which is great. And you've integrated the computer virus plot, which is great. And no one seems like they're at any risk at any time, which is less great.
Yeah. That's
Robert,
constructive.
Hmm.
I think it's better. I still have an issue with the number of titles that have to be repeated and said. I think if these guys work together and they know each other, they can then move into Joe, Fred, Irving, whatever. Just something to make it move along. It seems to. I feel like it drags every time a title comes up. I'm not sure exactly what can be done about it, but there should be a way. Maybe there's abbreviations for those things like admin or the AD, assistant director, something like that. I don't know. Just make it not get bogged down in the titles because that's constructive. But as far as the movement of it, it moves way better than it did last time. It goes to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. And the exchange between Marcus and Avalon, I slightly disagree with Danny on that. It makes Marcus not smarter than Avalon. It provides a reason for Avalon to be interested in Marcus that's palpable, that we know. And I like that Avalon's smart because he's going to the smart guy. And Avalon never wants to be the smartest guy in the room. That's pretty clear. He's always asking for other people who have the expertise. So you've developed, I think, the Avalon character with minimal effort into somebody who's a little more real and would be the kind of person in that role. I don't think I'm stretching that too far, but it's better than it was before. Avalon was very cardboard before. So that's better. I think the characterization I did of Marcus was outstanding, so I'll compliment myself. But the contrast, I think. But and let me just say this: that I see the contrast in the dialogue. I'd like to make sure that contrast was through. This is a director's issue, in the direction of that particular scene. That they are generationally contrasted. They are verbally contrasted. Avalon has to come down to Marcus's level to communicate with him because Marcus is stubborn, and Marcus has to slow himself down for Avalon to catch everything that he's doing. So that's a real interesting conflict between the two characters, and I do believe that's what Danny was referring to earlier about that it's a parent. There's tension and all that. So good. Next.
Larry?
Yo, yeah, good script, good, hacker procedural type of thing. Yeah, interesting. See where it goes. Yeah.
Erwin.
Yeah, I definitely felt a little bit more dramatic sort of responses coming from Avalon this time. I think it was much more clear that the president was dead this time, and that there were people responding to it, which is good, which means that Avalon doesn't have to respond so strongly. He's a seasoned agent. But there was definitely like a response to this crazy thing that happened. This is the scene with Marcus and Avalon is a familiar type of scene, which I think is good. For this script, we get a familiar step in the procedure, and it's all moving right along. You've got the skeleton there, and you can fit in a lot more little bits of characterization or whatnot. I did notice that Avalon was perturbed by this Loki guy. I like that. That was he finally showed a little bit. He cracked a little bit there. So that was good. Yeah, I think that's what you're doing is he's got kind of a flat affect until this whole until he gets that interesting cryptic message on the phone. Yeah, it's good.
All right, Erwin, you got any constructives?
It's hard to say. I wasn't sure exactly which pages we skipped. We skipped some pages, right?
Yes.
And yeah, it did. I think I did like the run up a little bit better in the previous version, but that might just be because we missed some pages or something like that. Before
You mean the run up to the interview scene?
The run up to like him shooting the door open and stuff.
I know, but I enjoy watching it with you.
Okay.
All right.
But yeah, yeah, I think a little bit more, some sort of tension between Marcus and Avalon is, typical for this movie. I think I'd like to see a little bit more tension between those two, even if it's just personality clash, a little bit more personality clash, or legalistic clash, like, hey, remember, you broke the law, motherfucker, and I'm the I'm FBI, so stop, anyway. So, but I like the old man stuff. I think that was funny, right? Because I get that, I'm the old man in that scene. But yeah, maybe a little pushback from Avalon or something, even if it's just a look. Yeah, so that's all I have.
All right, Larry.
Yeah. I don't know if I could add much for constructives on it.
Robert.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay. Bye, Larry.
Bye, Larry. Bye, Larry.
Thanks for playing.
No, really, Larry. What do you have? Anything?
No, I was gonna say it's not really like a genre that I watch or interest in very much, so I don't really have many constructive.
Robert.
Okay.
Larry,
you were right.
right the whole time. Yeah. I should never have doubted you, Preston. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, really. I think that the tension needs to be built. That's what I meant when I was referring to Avalon's less cardboard, and that tension that Erwin referred to is absolutely necessary to be built on between the two of them, because there's 3 or 4 different levels that it can happen. 1, the technology gap; 2, the generation gap; and 3, the tension of having to make a deal with the government that he despises. That's such a complex nexus of things that are going on that each of them needs to be played out. That's very difficult writing. That's going to take some real brain work and a lot of experimenting with who says what,
Yeah. Those are going to be some major themes throughout the entire film. So that's not going to be.
I would set it up here.
That's going to be that's yeah.
If you set it up here, it's going to be way easier to pull that out of the bag later on, and later in the second and then into the third act. It's like the gun on the door, in the first act, or a gun on the wall. Better use it by the second or third act, and that's kind of what this is. Mm-hmm. So if you continue with that, the other thing is that I as I mentioned earlier, I'm tired of all the cumbersome titles that are there. I hope you can do something with that. It's so formal, but I also want to go on something that Erwin brought up, which is the kind of, or somebody brought it up about the stiffness of Avalon, and FBI guys are real. I don't know if you guys have ever dealt with one before. I've had the I wasn't the object of the attention, but I've been in present when they're in mode. They are formal and stiff as fucking could be, like an IBM salesman. They are just one note on focus and where they're at. Having him crack a little bit is golden for character development. So I just, a little bit more of that. The only time I hear him crack is when he says, "I've been working on these phones since before you were born," type of thing. And we all know how long technology takes to change. Like next week, there will be new AI that we have to deal with. Avalon's facing that. Marcus is accustomed to it. So play on those a little bit more. Set them up here. You'll be able to pull them out of the bag later on in the story.
Danny.
Yeah, so I mean, I sort of lumped a lot of my crits in together earlier because being awake is complicated. But yeah, like I think you sell Avalon a lot better at the beginning, which is great. And you've sort of got this, whatever the guards are doing and whatever is hacking the system, I use the word very loosely here, subplot happening during this interview, and it seems to barely affect our characters at all. Like, fine, Marcus doesn't want to escape. Avalon seems particularly unbothered. The guard's not bothered. The guard's happy to like use his phone and also hack into the system with his phone. So the way these scenes normally are written, right, is whatever is going to disrupt normality is going to be an inciting incident for something else. And you show it to the audience so they see what appears to be a normal conversation in which they know, but the characters don't know, that there's a bomb under the table ready to go off. Where's your bomb? The bomb goes off and no one gives a shit. Is sort of where we have this scene here. And that means you set up an entire thing without paying it off. I mean, there's a few ways you can pay it off. I agree with Robert that you should have stated your themes by this point in the film explicitly, and this interrogation room scene is the place to do it. So state your themes, but also like this has to be an inciting incident for Act 2. Whatever is happening next is Act 2, right? So is the inciting incident like our guy signs a contract that he didn't really have much of a choice about while potentially under duress? Or is it fucking hackers like just broke into the entry?
Yeah, if so, that's a perfectly fine inciting incident. Though.
No, it totally is. I'm just saying, like, it seems like you're trying to write some hackers broke into a federal penitentiary, and what you gave us is some dude signs a contract under duress.
Yes.
So it can be both of those things, but you need to tie them together pretty explicitly. Very much like how Act 2 of The Matrix technically starts with Neo taking a pill.
There you go.
Inciting incident.
Yeah. All right. I mean, I thought it was pretty good. Yes. I would just go. We're 20 pages in. We have a conflict. We have a villain. It isn't exactly sketched out entirely. Like I really don't know whoever that guy was that anonymously signed. Well, not anonymous, but who, cyber signed the thing. We have no idea who that is. I'm sure they're a bad anonymous hacker person.
I hope it's Avalon's son.
Yeah, and I don't really have a good understanding of what the hacker, I think Marcus is his name, is exactly gonna do. I know the government seems to approach this as you're a hacker, this is a hacker problem, solve the problem. I don't know. I'm not sure much beyond that, but I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next. And with that, I think that's the script. John, you got anything?
Nope. I'm good. Thank you.
All right.
I do have the next 10 or 15 pages written, so I'll have the next 10 for next week or the week after.
Okay.
Whenever, and then that will kind of be the end. That'll be the end of Act 2 and the beginning of the end of Act 1 and the beginning of Act 2. So I'll see if that lands, and depending on how that lands with you guys, then I might go back and continue to work Act 1.
Okay, Robert.
I don't want to write Act 2 until I'm happy with Act 1.
Help me out here. Is this the right script?
Blood Legacy.
Yes, it is Blood Legacy. Yes.
No, we're back in the boardroom. I think the boardroom.
Yeah, well,
Do they go back to the boardroom and
This is
like
what we did
meditate
last
on the
week.
crimes? I would watch the hell out of that movie.
Is this last week's thing?
I think this
is where they've been frozen. There's
okay. So
several things that happen after that. Let me first of all, I've done some rewriting, but we're not going to read that because I don't want to go backwards right now.
Okay.
This is the remaining part of the boardroom. I'm going to a little bit of a spoiler alert here. I changed it.
Blood Legacy 7.
Perfect.
Okay. You threw me off when you said June 3rd.
Oh,
Right.
Sorry. Yeah, whatever.
Okay. I just went with the earliest June 3rd, which turned out was not the correct June 3rd.
Oh, is every version of his script from June 3rd?
So let me just say that I have added Hess jumping out the window within the boardroom scene. Okay, and it was not an easy thing, but
why wasn't it easy? I don't understand why that was hard.
Because of you'll see. But it doesn't really matter. We've gone through that because we did the arguments between the two of them about the efficacy of having done that.
Yeah.
So we were in Nick, the special agent for the ICE, in his office, and he was getting called out for having taken up the car all day. And that is Abe, who we refer to in the very first line is his boss, yelling at him. You want me to read the narration?
No, somebody else will do it. I'll do it.
Yeah.
Where do you want us to start? The beginning with Abe?
Yeah.
All right. Abe goes on with his rant while Nick daydreams, recalling his days with the elite Owie Force. Flashback. Exterior, desert, sands, dunes. Nick is driving a Hummer. The driver's door is emblazoned with the Alien Object Investigation AOL logo.
Oh, yeah.
In slow motion, Nick turns the wheel hard right and creates a rooster tail of sand blocking out the camera view. Flashback ends. That's Interior ICE office, same. No art direction.
My own Hummer, Abe.
Abe raises his voice.
What? Nick, are you listening to me?
Nick nods. He removes the car keys from his shirt pocket and smacks them on Abe's desk. He rises from the chair and starts out the door.
I'm not done with you.
Interior hallway, same. Nick continues down the aisle and out the door into the hallway. Interior restaurant, same. Restroom, same.
Room.
He pushes the door to the restroom too hard. It bangs against the wall.
Oh, no.
Nick goes to the last stall.
He's going to take the hardest piss you've ever seen, right here.
Latches, or the biggest dump. Latches the door, drops his trousers, lowers the horseshoe toilet seat, and claims his asylum. Head buried in his hands, Nick winces when the bathroom door bangs against the wall. The footsteps echo and stop at his stall. Abe's wingtips are visible through the space under the stall door.
Who's Abe? Not only the car, but you take my stall as well. Piece of work, Nick. You are a piece of work.
Maybe I'm Abe. I don't know.
Nick flushes the toilet. Superimposed. Or maybe lovers. Isaiah 5:20. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil. Interior ICE office. Later that morning, Nick and Eddie are called into Abe's office. Abe hands Nick his orders.
An incident in New York appears to have a connection with the immigrants ICE has been tracking.
Eddie takes the packet from Abe and opens it.
You both are on the next flight to LaGuardia. The plane departs in 45 minutes. Get going.
Flyrite Airlines budget operation. They have a rubber band running down the aisle, right?
Really funny, smartass. Be back by tomorrow afternoon. I arranged the local agency transport to the crime scene.
What crime?
That's what you're going to find out.
Just like the government. They show me the man, I'll show you the crime. Exterior, Manhattan. Outside, Coal Forever HQ. Head early evening. Pulling up to the Cole Forever office building, Nick and Eddie double park the agency minivan. Police cars and emergency vehicles with lights flashing randomly park on the street and sidewalk. Nick struggles opening the dented door.
Reach out and open it with the door handle.
The door opens and bangs the ambulance next to them. Eddie stays inside, finishing off a chocolate cruller with a coffee chaser. Nick is immediately confronted by an NYPD uniform. Just the uniform?
Just the uniform.
Just the uniform. Look, we got vampires, we got aliens, we got a floating uniform. I don't see the problem.
Maybe it's a ghost. It's the invisible man wearing a uniform.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Go.
This area is restricted.
Nick pulls out his badge, displaying it in the officer's face. The officer waves it away.
What the fuck is ICE?
Oh, come on. A voice, Pincher, age 35, from behind the office. Officer calls out.
I called them. Let him through, Detective Pincher. We saw your bolo. I want to show you something.
Nick shoulders his way past the officer.
I'm with him.
Eddie turns sideways and catches up with Nick.
What prompted the call? What did you see?
We have an image. The dude matches the bolo description. There's something weird, though.
A stunning redhead CSI technician, Officer Willows.
Oh, yeah.
Brings a computer tablet.
Is this me?
That's you, dear. Remember, you're stunning.
Okay. This is
And CSI.
Detective Pincher. So,
Officer Willows. Meet Special Agent Charles.
Nick nods and looks at the iPad.
Oh, watch this video. The CCTV was hacked, wasn't working, but the guard's body cam was running.
Nick peers at the screen.
I just see the hallway.
keep looking right here. The guard's glasses fell over his body cam.
At that moment, the image of Ulysses appears in the video.
See? We can only see him after the glasses covered the body cam.
Ulysses is pulling away from the guard's face and wipes a bit of blood from the corner of his mouth.
Forensics determined the glasses are polarized lenses, which made him visible to the camera.
Pincher looks at Nick.
I know your background. You're the supernatural expert. What kind of weird human is this guy?
Preternatural, maybe human. Have a copy sent to me.
Nick hands Pincher his card.
So, where is the jumper?
He was sent to the medical examiner, along with a vendor card. They have the equipment.
Well,
They have the equipment to extract Hess's body.
When can we speak to the guard?
He's upstairs. They'll move him once the medevac helicopter is here. He was pure white when I saw him, but still breathing.
Pincher pulls an evidence bag from his jacket.
We also found this on the loading dock, a rare brand of cigarette to be found here in the States. I know them from when I was stationed in Marseille. Gicon. No person in their right mind would smoke them. Nobody here seems to smoke them. Could be lead.
The sound of the helicopter blade chop is getting louder as it passes over the skyscrapers. Police quickly cordon off the street. Nick and Eddie look at each other. Nick heads back to the minivan.
Cordon off.
We will catch up with the guard at the hospital.
Pincher hands Eddie his card.
Call me if you find something.
Eddie nods, looking at the card.
Dick Pincher. That had to be tough growing up.
Pincher already started walking back to the cordoned area. Eddie climbs into the driver's seat and places the card in the sun visor. He turns to Nick.
Why did you leave? You know Pincher's going to make you jump through hoops to get to the guard.
Pincher will keep an eye on everything. This is his beat.
Lid.
Sorry, lid on everything. This is his beat.
Nick reaches in his coat and pulls out a piece of paper.
One in the uniform slipped me this.
He hands the note to Eddie.
I was the first one to the guard. He was semi-conscious, babbling about an invisible man. I saw 2 marks on his neck dripping blood.
Looking at Nick.
Was it the redhead she gave you this?
Nick pauses, then nods.
What does it mean?
It means word gets out, neck-biting bloodsucker is on the loose. The public will panic. It's best the NYPD takes the heat for keeping this quiet. It also helps us. No publicity means the perp won't know we're on to him.
I would have thought that would have been a kink. That'd be all the rage on Instagram.
Yeah.
Nick
Maybe.
takes back the note.
But all Abe is going to say is that we found an eyewitness to an invisible man.
Eddie shoots a quick look at Nick and nods his head in agreement. Nick reaches up to the sun visor, looking at Pincher's business card. He rubs it between his thumb and forefingers.
18-point matte weave, embellished with gold foil for the badge. They have a budget.
Okay.
I'm just reading the line in front of me, okay?
I know.
No,
I know.
it's fine. It's fine. It's Nick replaces the card in his visor.
Let's get to the morgue. We need to see if Hess has all his corpuscles.
Eddie turns the key, but the engine fails to start. He tries again, and the engine rumbles, then backfires loudly. All the cops drop to the ground, their guns pointing at the minivan. No, cops just opened fire at acorns falling on the ground, then
That's
ask
an
for
LAPD.
questions.
Wait, do they?
LAPD.
Oh, yes. Yes. It was a big story like last year. Acorns were falling on a car. A cop was doing a regular traffic stop. An acorn fell out of a tree, hit the roof, and the cop opened fire on the car, thinking that there was somebody in there shooting a gun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Eddie, we already did all that. We're doing. Nick gives the simple beauty queen wave as they drive off, belching thick smoke. Superimpose Leviticus 19:31. Do not look for advice from people who get messages from those who have died.
That's a very
Interior.
specific, like Bible verse.
I feel like you're like just like Bible quote mining for the win here.
Yes.
Interior city morgue later that night. Fluorescent lights strobe. The hallway, tiled in sterile white, resembles a subway tunnel to a certain purgatory.
Use the stink.
Mercaptan and formaldehyde, the bouquet of embalming.
I am gonna barf. Where's the bathroom?
Nick pushes through the double doors. There, in the middle of the room, the vendor cart with Hess planted in the middle. Only his legs are visible.
I love this description.
Yeah.
This is straight up Wizard of Oz shit, and I am here for this.
All right.
Nick looks over the evidence. He eyes the shoes, lifting the loafer tassels with his pen.
Huh. Bruno Maglis, only the best for Hess.
Nick is interrupted by Danny Dinmont, medical examiner.
You can look, but don't touch. I am M.E. Dinmont. What was it that you needed to see besides his shoes?
Well, Miss Dinmont.
You may call me Danny.
Nick
Sorry,
caught her
romance.
wink.
Sorry, romance in a morgue isn't my thing.
Who said anything about a romance? I just get excited when a body is actually warm.
I like her. I like her
I
already.
like her actually. Hey, there's a warm body here. Hey,
I'm looking to see any wounds before he hit the griddle.
I see that you're with ICE. Seems odd that you be doing business in a morgue. Guess there's a first time for everything.
Eddie, back from the bathroom, looks over to Nick.
All I know is I ain't eating hot dogs from street vendors anytime soon.
The body is hoisted out of the cart and dropped onto the exam table. I'd like to know how.
Yeah,
Rigor mortis.
that's one more pass is really killing me. Like, how is this alive?
Telekinesis.
Yeah.
Are you saying like did she hoist it?
No, the body magically hoists out and rigor
did she
mortis.
Just, like, drop it from like a hook?
I don't know. All right, keep going.
Rigor mortis kept Hess's body in the ready position ball players use just as the ball leaves the pitcher's hand. I don't know what that means either.
I don't know what that means. Jackie straightened out the corpse.
The morgue assistant pulls the limbs into a resting state, allowing Hess to lay flat. Eddie bellies up to the exam table. He leans in to have a closer look at the neck.
Any tooth marks?
Suddenly, Hess's eyes pop open. Eddie jumps back, slips, and falls into the body chambers. Okay. So her eyes pop open and Eddie falls into a body chamber. I don't know what that means. Grabbing a handle to keep from falling, the door opens and with a body slides out onto the tray just enough to see the head with a screwdriver in it.
I'm gonna barf.
He runs back to the restroom.
Your friend's first experience with taphanotic convulsions?
Nick is looking at the screwdriver.
Yeah, this. Oh no, go ahead.
Yeah, the screwdriver. They claim it was an accident.
Jackie slides the body back and closes the chamber door.
Wait, who's Jackie?
The assistant.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
I need to see if there are any punctures into veins, neck, wrists, anywhere they're exposed. They're evidence.
The whole damn body is evidence, Iceman.
Danny checks and looks back at Nick.
Oh, I don't see any entry wounds. What is it that you're after?
Please send the report on how much blood is in his body.
You'll get it tomorrow. You still haven't told me what you're looking for.
Vampires!
There was no blood in the body. It was all over the pavement.
I just got to the bank holding my mortgage. I just got to go to the bank. Just go to the bank holding my mortgage. They'll suck the life out of anything right now at the last
Corpuscle.
Corpuscle?
Corpuscle.
Okay. Vampires, what next?
Nick nods his thanks to Danny and turns to exit the morgue. Danny has Hess's head in her hands, twisting it from side to side.
Jackie, get me a cordless bone saw. The cranium is thick. Make sure that it has a fresh battery.
All right. Pages. Vampire stuff happened. We went a little X-Files this time. I like that we can only see Uli on the camera when the plain polarized glasses fall from the face. I think that's a pretty good touch. What's up, Draco? I know we have a script from you. I don't know if we'll get to it tonight. We got a script from practically everybody. The cop actually downloaded his 9mm in the backseat of his car where he had a suspect. Good to know.
I think you said about the acorn incident.
How do you download a 9mm?
I don't know. I wasn't sure on that one.
I mean, I download MP3 files. I don't know about downloading 9mm. Somebody might need to call ATF for that.
We definitely had some cool vampire stuff. We have an investigative body. They're going to get to the bottom of this, and they're going to bring about justice, whatever that happens to be. Go ahead, Diane.
Some witty dialogue. You at least have a conflict. You're trying to figure out the body, which we all know as the audience knows who did it.
We do.
We do, or at least so far. Who knows? Could be a red herring. They could be faking it.
Doubt it.
Doubt it, though. But doubt it, but you never know. I don't know what else more to add, but because everything else is more going to criticisms.
Okay.
So I'm going to leave it there.
John Lamont.
Danny was awesome. I love this character. I want more Danny. I want a whole movie book just about her. The no nonsense, mildly antisocial medical examiner
Extremely
with the
horny.
stomach of iron. I think that would be is a gold mine for a police dramedy procedural.
Danny.
Okay, so I loved the Coen Brothers vibe.
Yeah.
I have now figured out what you're trying to do, and it involves throwing out the first 40 pages. And I'm cool with that. Because
first 40 pages
is successfully a farce. That's clearly what's happening, and I'm here for it. You have like this. I mean, it's pretty fucking bold to make an ice agent the hero of anything.
Especially right now.
Yeah.
And not only did you do that in a way where I didn't want to punch anybody in the face, also, like, Hess got his comeuppance by dying on the grill he hates so much. Like, they've got the apparently a low budget, the shitty van, but like whatever. All of that was great comedy. You introduced comedic side characters like, you know, the mystery winch, Danny, like pretty much everyone at the crime scene. Like that was all very successful.
Yeah, it was amusing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a vampire story with a lot of comedy. It's turning out pretty good. I think he's on the right direction. So keep it going.
Erwin.
Yeah, there were definitely some amusing moments. I think you heard me laugh out loud at the Dick Pincher name. It took me by surprise. When Danny talked about this sort of Coen Brothers tone, that clicked with me. Yeah, I get it. I think it took me a little. I think the first couple of pages was kind of sort of just like typical, like Law and Order. They're in the office preparing to go investigate before they investigate. And then when the actual investigation starts, it gets kind of goofy and interesting. Not outrageously goofy, but yeah, it's got that undertone of, something's kind of ironic here or something. Yeah, that's it.
How could you make it better?
Well, I think I was a little bit confused as to like what happened to the environmental group and everything. But
we left them behind in a big hurry. Yeah.
So I was, as a reader, I was a little bit confused. If I was a viewer, I might not be. I might just be like, okay, I'm going to roll with this, because I don't have to do anything. As a reader, I have to like pay attention and like, I'm like trying to dissect the damn thing. But as a viewer, I might be more relaxed about it. But yeah, I was kind of wondering like why are we focusing on these people now? And I'm guessing that these people showed up earlier as well. I can't really remember because I don't think I saw all the previous pages. Did they show up earlier, Nick and Eddie?
Yeah. Well, actually, last week. Yes,
Okay.
They show up earlier.
I mean,
Arwen, I've got a few comments about that. I'll get to that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I know where you're going with that.
I mean, Erwin, if your point is that we're 50 pages in and it's kind of late in a police procedural with all new characters, that's a valid note. Yes.
Yeah. If these characters are so involved all of a sudden, don't make it the beginning of the investigation, like have them be an integral part of this environmental group story. Like, how are they going to complicate the environmental group story immediately, not like another 10 pages in, right? They need to, the clash, the conflict needs to be met soon. Unless, I don't know, maybe you're making a, like a sort of a 4-part sort of story where like each part is dedicated to a different set of characters. I'm not sure if
No,
that's
it's not. It's not Rashomon. It's more like a pacing when the characters are introduced at different times, and it is intentional to keep them kind of separate because I want the discovery of how their paths ultimately cross. Now it may take too long. I'm open to the fact that it's not a perfect script or timed right, but that is intentional, is to have them be very independent, introduced independently, giving them some weight on their own, and then see what happens when we throw them all together in the mix. But how that works, if it's successful, you guys are telling me, and I'm taking your notes, by the way, quite seriously.
I think that totally goes back to my earlier comment, which is like, yeah, if I was a viewer and if it was directed well, I might be like totally into it. It was okay. What's going on now? Like, this is some sort of Tarantino thing going on here. So yeah, okay, cool.
Larry.
Yeah, sorry. I guess I missed some of it, so it's a little hard for me to follow. Other than that, this part of the story is a basic sort of police procedural with some witty comic comedic moments, and I don't really think I have anything to add for criticisms on that. So, yeah.
Danny.
Okay, so. Oh, yeah. God. Well, I know that John has a lot he wants to say. I'm trying to now figure out how I can say what I want to say without overlapping too much.
Well, you don't know what I'm going to say.
I have ideas. That's true. Okay.
You want me to go first?
I'm going to start. No, it's fine. I'm going to start off with a side note and just lean into my strengths here. I see, based on stuff I saw that you posted in the Discord, that this is an adaptation of a novel.
Novella, yeah.
Sure, yeah. There are many, many things you can do structurally in a novel that you simply cannot get away with.
That's been the struggle, no question.
In a film, and one of those is introduce an entirely new story as though it were page 1 when you're actually on page 70.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what you did here. And while Larry, and I 100% agree with Larry, if this was the only 10 pages I read, I'd be like, cool, I want to see where this farcical investigation goes. It's got Coen Brothers vibes. And then now thinking back to the incredibly daft speech that that our open air quotes, eco-terrorists, close air quotes, gave at the boardroom, well, that makes sense if it's a farce and everyone's an idiot. And the Uli stuff, still kind of makes sense. Even he is kind of an idiot. And if everyone is an idiot, that's actually really interesting and funny, and farces are fun to read and watch. And that still means you need to throw your first 40 pages, which contained real drama, a vampire story that you don't engage with, a weird scribe as a framing narrative, and all of that other stuff just needs to go, so that way no one thinks that you're writing anything serious, and then they actually quite enjoy the farce that you've written, which is actually pretty good. So that's the one thing. And that's a serious structural problem that I know I've been harping on for a while. But if every scenario that you presented so far has been weird and farcical and interesting for it, that means all the stuff that isn't that, which I've been focusing on, because I really like that dramatic stuff, that's all got to go. That's a different story. Tell that story some other time. And then the other thing that just occurs to me is, why isn't this beginning of the movie?
That's a good question. I mean, yeah.
This is a fine beginning of a movie. You've got a guy who, like, fine. It turns out it was really good. Oh, right. Another note. No, he does not flush the toilet. If you're going to be that pissed off at someone, why would you flush their toilet? You leave it there.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad I read Nick with like a ghetto Christian Bale voice, because then he suddenly went all like American Psycho dealing with the business card. Yeah. I like that character, but that's a character that you want to follow. That's your most interesting protagonist so far, and you've given us like 12 of them.
I believe that. I mean, I totally agree with that. Nick is interesting,
right? He's ice, but he's actually like looking for vampires, and he's like, you know, oh no, they're underfunded, etc., etc. But like, again, aside from the very bold move about having a hero be an ice agent, actually everything else about this 10 pages was great. It was a great 10 pages to start anything. Especially something with the kinds of characters and I guess earnest dialogue, which is an overstatement, but I'm going to go with it. That's as straightforward as what you've generally written when your movie's actually about anything. That you're really straightforward and superficial with like how our terrorist group is like dealing with the boardroom. You've got the company's name is Coal Forever or some shit like that. Like, I mean, hardly subtle. And even the
Destroying Incorporated.
Yeah, like even the dialogue between the teenagers and the vampire about, no guys, it's bad to kill. Like, of course it's fucking bad to kill people. Get on with it, you know? And like, so that all works brilliantly in this world where an ice agent is the hero and also actually a vampire hunter. That's a fucking movie. So consider focusing on that. John, you're up.
Okay. First, I want to say the whole thing about the ice doesn't make any sense. 2 points. One, the fact that they're underfunded, that just makes no sense in modern America. There is not a government agency that is underfunded. I dare you to find me one. 2, again, even if the cop doesn't like him because he's an ICE agent, I don't know. That line just didn't play with me because I don't know who that person is. So to me, he comes off as an idiot character, which maybe it works given Danny's critique, an idiot character that doesn't know what the fuck ICE is. I did not get to him that was supposed to be a snide, I don't like you, so I'm choosing to ignore you and your agency's existence. I got it as an idiot character doesn't know who the fuck ICE is. And that just didn't play with me. So anyhow, that all being said, that there was just 2 minor things that jumped out at me. My main point was I also read what you posted in the Discord, and I went to your website and I read your description of your novella. And to Danny's point, I don't really read a lot of novels, but he is correct. Formatting a novel, I know, is different than formatting a screenplay. And I read your summary, and I'm just like, my absolute first thought was, you said this is book 1 in the Nick whatever investigative series, and my first thought was, who the hell is Nick somebody? I've read 50 pages of this script, and I don't remember a Nick. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Wasn't he that guy from like page 10 that did something who disappears off the face of the planet for 40 pages while other shit's going down? I'm like, you can't do that in a script. You can't do that in a movie. Like that is like, no. And the entire, as nicely as I can put it, the description that you gave us of your novel is not the story you've been presenting over the last 60 some odd pages. They are not the same story. The story in your website's description is a police procedural about a cop hunting a vampire. That's what your story is, and that's not the story that we've been given.
Mm-hmm.
There has been no, and I think your other line was he's hot on the trail of this. Like, he's been hot on the trail of nothing. He's been MIA for the last 40 pages or more.
60
like
pages.
That is
this was like the 7th 10 pages, right?
Mhm.
so yeah. So 50, 60 pages. Like, he's been gone. He's not on the trail of anything. The story in your webpage description is not the story you've been presenting. So that was my first thought when I read that. I was like, this is not the story. Like, if this is the story you want to tell, this is not the story you're telling. So that was like my first thought when I read that. And honestly, and I know it's kind of tropey, but it's tropey because it works. One thought, like, there's a reason why, like, the interview with the vampire method of storytelling works, because it works and it allows you to do a lot of different things. And I really think that for a police type of thing, if you want to focus on Nick as your main character, because based on what I read in your website, Nick's the main character, and that is not what we've been reading. We've been reading, we don't know who the F the main character is, because we've had like 15 of them over the past 70 pages. Well, I guess technically 3. I shouldn't say 15, because really it bounces between Madison and Uli, and now Nick popped in. So in 70 pages, we've had 3 main characters. And I feel like that's not going to work in this kind of a format. So yeah, I am sorry about the 15. That was probably a little harsh. You do have a lot of characters, but you don't have a lot of main characters. So I feel like, so here was my thought. This was my thought that might help you. Do something a little bit more like an interview with the vampire type of style. And I said, I know it's a little tropey. This will probably fix a lot of your problems, especially with the scribe, because you don't need him. But what if, and I don't know what the future of the story holds. What if the story starts with Nick in an interrogation room in handcuffs, and his boss is interviewing him about something, and then Nick goes and starts, and Nick is telling us the story as he's telling his boss the story, and then we can start out, oh, I was down at the docks and I was hunting for this suspect because X, Y, and Z was really weird, and I was down following him at the docks, and I saw him do such and such. Then we cut to the docks, and we got the dock scene, and we're getting the dock scene not from third person omniscient perspective, but we're getting it from Nick, because Nick is off in the back with binoculars from a distance, watching all of this crazy shit go down. Watching Uli go from the ground to up in the catwalks and then back, and then boom, he's gone. And he's like, and then I went to interview the guy, and the guy had 2 bite marks in his neck, and he was bleeding out. Like, there, I just solved your entire opening. I gave you a interesting character that we're following. Uli is now a threat. You cut the foreman scene, that the super nice mobster guy that I remember commenting about him not fitting in this story. All of that's gone just by having Nick witnessing the scene from I don't know what the F is going on, and relaying that to another character. Then we can move forward to another scene. Maybe, because again, you said all of their storylines converge. So maybe in another interview, in another interrogation room, Madison is sitting there in handcuffs. And she just got arrested for some eco-terrorist thing that she did. And she's also relaying information that Nick may not know. So now we're getting information from Madison in her interrogation room, and we're getting it from Nick in another interrogation room, and that's kind of filling in the pieces of the story throughout probably most of Act 1. And then when you get into Act 2, then you can kind of develop this a little bit more, because I feel like you've got more story to tell with this. But I feel like what you've given us so far is not the story you're trying to tell us. So I just thought something along that might work better for a film, because it puts these two characters in the forefront of our mind. We don't forget about who they are because we're jumping back and forth with them every 10 pages, and they're retelling us stories about this strange Uli character and all of his crazy stuff that he's up to. And I think if you approach your entire story this way, I think you may find that it's a little bit more cohesive to tell the story that you want to tell. Because yes, what you wrote might work in a novella. I don't know. I didn't read it. But it's not working as a screenplay. So I think and then of course, one of the cool things that I kind of mentioned last week, what I like about our 10-page format here is I think that would be a good way for you to keep things interesting, is if you were able to condense whether it's Nick's or Madison's story into 10-page chunks. Then every 10 minutes, we're jumping back and forth between the two of them before their stories eventually converge toward the end, maybe the beginning of Act 2, where these two stories converge. I think that would provide something a little bit more interesting. I think it'll keep things more consistent. And I think it will let you tell the story you want to tell of a cop tracking down a cop tracking down a vampire. I don't think you need to make him ice. I think that's a little silly. My opinion would be that he is either from maybe a covert, either privately funded or a covert department of the NSA that works, clandestine anti-supernatural events like X-Files, like something like that. And maybe that particular division, because they're so clandestine and nobody believes it, maybe the president doesn't believe in the supernatural. So he's like, oh, that department, we can cut funding there because, I got a war overseas that I want to fund. Or, I've got my donors that need to get their yacht upgraded or whatever. So we're gonna cut funding to that division. That way we can claim we're cutting government spending, even though they're just transferring it somewhere else. Like mix all that kind of stuff into it. Sorry, I'm getting on my libertarian soapbox for a minute. But I think you could do something like that. If you want to play into their being underfunded, don't put them in a big department that is so overly bloated, everybody knows that nobody would buy that they're driving a cheap beat-up van with the doors don't open. I would put them in something like where they're like struggling to get their next department funding. Maybe the whole department's going to be shut down unless they can prove their worth. So maybe if Nick doesn't prove the supernatural and that vampires exist, he could be out of a job.
He's only got like 2 weeks to find proof of vampires, or his job is toast.
I mean, because if he's just an ICE agent, all they're going to do is send him to Colorado or wherever the hell they were, last week. Or they'll send him down to the Mexico border. I mean, an ICE agent doesn't have any threat of losing his job. He's got threat of losing his life, but I mean, they're going to shove him somewhere. So as I said, then you kind of raise the stakes. Maybe Abe, his boss, the one doing the interview of Nick and Madison, is he's the director of this clandestine organization, and he's going to be out of a job too. And he's got 2 weeks from retirement. Okay, I didn't get it right.
Dan, you got anything?
So anyway, that's all I got.
Dan?
No, I mean, everybody said everything. So I have to say that reading this, it felt like the beginning of a film. I absolutely agree. I don't understand why we needed all these flashbacks and flashbacks, why we needed the eco-terrorists, all this stuff was going on. It was all like, how did, it's not needed. And if your novella is synopsis is this, but basically a cop or some type of government agent basically is I don't understand ICE agent. I don't understand it either. And basically a detective cop, some ex-law enforcement agent goes out, tries to find vampires, and that's the story. I'm like, that gets me invested. That makes sense. The government's not listening to him.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, hey, there's an entire conspiracy. There's vampires here.
There you go.
Makes sense. And then he's like trying, and if you want to add like him tricking the eco-terrorists to make humanity safer so he can eat, sure. But again, this goes like, why, as a vampire, why does he just join them when he could just hypnotize them? I never understood that. Yeah, he just kind of joins them, and then like he does, and I'm like, you're a vampire, you could just like.
Yeah, you're not really supposed to be a joiner.
Yeah, you're not a joiner. You just like, I hypnotize you to murder this person.
Right. Yeah.
And
people are supposed to join you. You're not supposed to join them.
Yeah, it's like, I'm going to tell you to murder this nuclear plant CEO.
Yeah.
Go. Yeah. And that's it. That's his thing. So.
Yeah, I feel like, and it's a common, I think, criticism I get of a lot of scripts. From new writers is they tend to start too early. I feel we didn't need those first 50, 60 pages.
This goes back to
our conflict is I'm not sure what our conflict is in this story, but it could be this ICE agent attempting to hunt down a vampire that's stalking Coal Forever CEOs and
Coal Forever CEOs and nuclear.
You know what? ICE is so reprehensible, and so are coal companies.
Exactly.
ICE defending coal companies does actually work.
Killing billionaires. I don't know.
After vampires, it would be. You know what? A common comment I got about Palace, which people seem to like, is I love how everyone is evil. And like there's no one in Palace you can look to and go, that's the hero. Like, no, they're all
terrible.
They're terrible.
No, they're all terrible. Even like the adventurers.
The adventurers are horrible, homicidal maniacs. Yeah.
But the thing is that it kind of goes back to that quote that I like to talk about with Sam Fuller, the director. If you don't capture your audience in the first 7 minutes of a film, you lost it.
Yeah,
it's like, just rewrite it.
so yeah, I mean, I could like a script where everybody's horrible. We got an ICE agent defending Coal Forever CEOs against a vampire, and
Dude,
I love it.
Yeah,
he could be a bodyguard trying to protect him from like protesters.
Could be,
and he's over there.
It's an obvious farce, so people know what they're getting into.
Yeah. So
I just don't want him to become Larry the Mall Cop.
There you go.
He's an ICE agent. Like, do you want us to take him seriously? Because like no one's going to root for that character.
I'm sorry to say that according to Rutger Osterhoff, we are only to read 5 pages of Serial Twins this evening.
Only 5.
I was looking.
No!
I know. I was kind of bummed.
The art he posted that had ghosts.
And as far as I can tell, there's this new Jesus death. But he said read pages 75 to 79, which I guess meant like these page numbers here, as opposed to these page numbers here. Because there is no page 75.
Oh, okay.
He only gave us 75 to 79, so this is the end of a document. Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said this is the end of issue 1.
Oh my god.
Wait, issue 1?
I know, Larry, right?
I don't know what it is, but it's 75.
How many pages are supposed to be in a comic issue?
Well, it depends on what you're making, but
I mean,
what's the standard number of pages for a comic issue?
A standard comic would be 24 pages.
Comic book format, but I mean, I would say that this is a screenplay which has been converted to a comic book, but not divvied up into.
I would agree with you if you were to say that.
Yeah.
I believe it's not been divvied up into issues. So.
Okay, no. I'll read.
All right, go ahead.
Page 70, panels 6. Panel 1, wide shot.
Oh,
The
Larry,
door
that's
bursts
not-
open. Wide shot. The door bursts open. Sister Lindsay storms in, her ruler whirling in the air.
That's
Her
pretty
expression is a mix of rage and shock.
Go.
Dear Lord, what have you done, you filthy little whores?
Love it.
Panel 2,
Aw,
medium shot of Sister Lindsay striking Catherine across the face with the ruler. Catherine crumples to the
Okay.
ground.
Oh, your mom's getting
Panel-
flashbacks.
Yeah.
Panel 3, close-up of Megan charging at Sister Lindsay, teeth bared in a snarl. Sister Lindsay catches her by the wrist, twisting Megan's arm behind her back.
Arg.
Arg!
Panel 4,
Beating up
close-up
on-
of Sister Lindsay's twisted face as she hisses
Don't
through
point
clenched
your
teeth,
shirt.
holding Megan in place.
Isaiah 48:22.
Quoting the
Yay, a
Bible.
Bible quote.
Well,
Panel
kinda.
5,
Yeah.
flashback panel. Karen offers a chunk of meat to a teenage girl wearing a rosary. The scene is grainy and dreamlike.
I love it.
I love it. This is the
Panel
best.
6.
Never
back to
change,
present.
Rutger.
Well, so flashback ends. Panel back to present.
Yes.
Sister Lindsay presses a knife under Megan's chin, her eyes wild.
There is
Okay.
no peace for the daughters of the wicked, says the Lord.
Panels,
I feel
page
like,
71, panels 6. Panel 1, medium shot of Catherine springing up behind Sister Lindsay, wrapping her rosary wire around her throat. Panel 2, close-up of Catherine's bloodied palms pulling the rosary wire tight, her teeth gritted as Sister Lindsay's face turns red. Panel 3, extreme close-up of Sister Lindsay's wide, panicked eyes, freezing as the life drains from her. Panel 4, medium shot of Sister Lindsay's lifeless body slumping to the floor. The rosary wire recoils from Catherine's hands. Panel 5, close-up of Catherine sobbing, her hands trembling as Megan snaps her fingers in front of her face.
Who's Megan?
Now's not the time. We're getting out of here. All of us.
Panel 6, wide shot of Megan grabbing Catherine's hand and pulling her out of the room. They leave Sister Lindsay's body behind.
I'd like to know what
Page-
the hell that rosary string is made out of.
well,
Page-
apparently it's actually a wire.
Yeah, yeah.
Rosaries
Garrett,
are
yeah.
famously made of wires.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, I was trying to
Perfectly.
figure out like where can
Yeah.
I buy like a rosary garage? right?
Garage,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I don't know.
Page
maybe you should
72,
buy
panel
it
7.
at High
panel
School
1.
of Texas, Austin.
Yeah.
Medium shot of Megan and Catherine running down the orphanage hallway, their footsteps echoing loudly. Panel 2, wide shot of the twins skidding up to a stop outside the kitchen door. Panel 3, Megan peeks inside to make sure it's empty. Interior shot of the kitchen, pots and pans hang from racks and a large rucksack sits on the counter. Panel 4, medium shot of Megan whispering to Catherine as they step inside.
Let's grab a rucksack and some food. We're going to need it.
Well, you
Panel
should use
5,
that.
close up of Catherine's rifling through a pantry, grabbing non-perishable foods.
You
What
want me
about
to-
getting some outdoor clothes from the storage room?
Panel 6, medium shot of Megan slinging the rucksack over her shoulder, nodding toward the door.
Yes, that too.
Panel 7, wide shot of the twins leaving the kitchen, their figures small against the looming, shadowy hall. Page 73, panels 4. Panel 1, wide shot of the orphanage's giant wooden doors swinging open. Bundled up orphans spill out, carrying jackets, blankets, and personal belongings. Panel 2, medium shot of the twins pushing open the snow-covered gate wrapped in dead vines. Their faces are a mix of fear and determination. Panel 3, wide shot of the orphans down the dirt pathway lined with eerie, leafless trees. Snow crunches beneath their feet. Panel 4, medium shot of elderly nuns on bicycles chasing after the orphans, shouting angrily.
What? Wait. No, never mind.
you little heathens! Get
Never mind. Never mind. Save
And
it
your
for
little
later.
dog, too. Page 74, panels. Panel 1, wide shot of Megan and Catherine slipping into the forest, unnoticed in the chaos. Their movements are quick and deliberate. Panel 2, Wide shot of the twins disappearing into the dense snow-covered trees, their path illuminated by faint moonlight. Panel 3, medium shot, inlay of Megan. Determined face as she leads the way, her breath visible in the cold air.
All right. We had
Yay.
That was awesome, dude. I love it.
Serials
I love it.
like stuff happened. We had a rosary garrote. We had a nun die at the hands of the serial twins, who I think might have like low key fed the nun to somebody else. I'm
I
not
don't know.
sure, but I think maybe they did.
That was a
Well, there was a hunk of meat somewhere.
It was a hunk of meat came from somewhere.
It was literally a flashback to page 1.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So that ties it all together, I guess. So yeah.
Yeah.
So then there was not a nun burger being served. on.
Sadly, no.
It was a
Where's the
flashback in the
meat?
middle of a page.
Where's the beef?
Yeah. Anyway.
But yeah, that's some exciting stuff. I like it. What do you think, Diane?
It's actually quite exciting. It's remarkably. I'm not sure if it's intentionally funny, but it's very. There's a certain excitement to what's going on. There's an action. You could see the conflict happening here, and the getaway was quite amusing.
There you go. And as was the nun pursuit.
Yes.
I think on tricycles.
Yeah,
Or something.
they're on bicycles.
Bicycles.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It did feel like it.
Yeah, it did kind of feel like that. Yeah.
All right, John.
Come back here, you little pretties. Oh, I loved it. I was a little on the fence in the beginning of Serial Twins, but honestly, by about what was it? I think it was when one of them went in and accosted their neighbor. That I just gave in, and I am sold. Like that ever since then, I have been sold on this crazy train, and I love it. It is great. This was a great ending. The Rosary Garrote was great. The nuns was great. The everything. Yeah, I'm totally sold. Yeah, I am.
Dan?
Speaking of gonzo comedy, the nun's dialogue reminded me of Meg Stoll's speech from Desperate Living.
Oh.
Go home to your mother. Doesn't she ever want you? Tell her this isn't some communist. It was great. It was utterly vitriolic and totally amusing, and very much like John, I don't think there's any possible way any of this could be written any better by anyone.
There you go. Erwin.
Okay.
I haven't been here for this whole thing. I think I've definitely seen scenes from these two sisters, experience at this convent and stuff. And yeah, the flash, I guess this is flashback, right? Because later on they're adults and they're doing bad things, right? So
yeah.
This is a flashback to when they were. This is, I think, it's their first kill.
They're clearing their name for their reputation for murder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. But this is their first kill as the serial twins.
Yeah.
Reminding us how they're
backstory
clearing
for
their
me is
name for
much-
their reputation for wanted murder and violence.
Yes.
Yeah, the backstory for me is more interesting than the front story, but and so yeah, this was I was interested to see what was going to happen. I saw it. I like the scene with I like the image of all these orphan kids running out of this this convent with all their their ragged belongings and stuff like that. I like that it was there were only 4 panels on that page. It was a wide shot, and so I'm really into these really sort of powerful, scenes with lots of people in them. So I really pictured that. I really enjoyed that. The whole, kill the nuns and escape thing, it was solid. and it moved the story,
Right.
and
By the way,
yeah,
uh, quick note while you're online. I know you're new to comics. I hope your Kickstarter's doing great. One of the things about the low print runs is you use what's called like WebPress or something, and you can print like one of. And as you see in the thing, like I'll buy like 50 if I can do my own cover, and then I can sell it on my own platform. So just an offer.
Digital press. You do one-offs. Digital press.
Yeah, just one off.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
WordPress
talking to
is
you,
far
Erwin,
away.
not to the author.
Yeah.
What? Do 50 and just what? What are you saying?
I'm saying like I can provide you my own cover image, and then you can give the printer and go print 50 of that, and then you ship it to me, and then I sell it.
Oh,
Mhm.
oh,
Yeah.
you
It's a
mean
good
like
business strategy.
Yeah.
Rather than Kickstarter, he's saying it is selling it at like vendor style, right?
Or I'll do my own Kickstarter for it because now it's mine, right? Now it's like that's
Yeah.
my print run, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
And
You're getting produced, or when it's an offer to be produced,
there you
basically.
go.
Essentially.
But yeah, I've
Oh.
done it for John. I've done it for Larry. You know,
Yeah.
it's something. Just something to think about.
Oh,
All right.
you Preston Poulter. I
Yeah.
thought you were talking about like the sort of rhetorical
No.
you.
No, Preston
Me.
is talking
No,
to
Preston
you,
is not
Erwin,
in any
that is
way talking about
offering
serial
you
killers.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
A
an
deal.
opportunity
Look,
on his
yeah.
Kickstarter.
I'm ready. I'm ready for that type of deal. Yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah, it can
It'll
be.
take me some time to fully understand it, but yeah,
Okay.
yeah. No. Yeah. Let's do it.
All right.
Take it
Um,
offline and discuss it because that's
Yeah.
a really good offer right there.
All right.
Starting.
good stuff.
Larry,
yes.
what do you think?
What are we doing? Positive still?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. At least I could tell like kind of what was happening, so that was good. Yeah. Some good action, I guess. So I'll save the rest for later. Yeah.
Robert.
Okay. I liked it. It moved. I think it's significantly better written than the parts that I've seen. I haven't heard all of it. I went back and read some, but it's crisp. It moves. We know where we are at every single stage, and we know why things are happening. It's set up well, and I agree. I like the escape scene. Getting the rations. These people are smart. They know what to do even when they're in a panic. They know when to kill somebody. They know when to take care of themselves, and they know when to get out of town. All those things happened in this very short, rapid moment. It was good. Better than the other stuff I've read from him.
Yeah. Fair.
All right. Constructives, Robert.
I don't really have a lot. This is so much better than the rest of it. I think it was well put together. It felt a little bit more like a movie description than a comic book description. I'm not sure exactly if some of the panels were clearly defined, others were visually they were audible. I guess that can work with an illustrator outside of my realm of experience. For the comic world, but it felt a little more cinematic in its depiction. I was able to visualize it, but more as a film thing. Doing it as a panel, when I started to think about it, I thought that maybe some of them would be compared to what's happening when we read it. They would be like a kind of dead zone, and there's a lot going on in a given panel. So that. But I'm gonna claim ignorance of the genre, and let you guys have at it.
No, you're right.
Larry.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think he knows what snow is, for one thing,
He lives in Denmark.
Okay, but biking in the snow, chasing somebody,
They do it.
Yeah, but it would have to be very light snow, and he said it was heavy snow. And then running through the woods in the snow is not an easy thing to do. Anyway,
He is born in that country. He can dash through snow unlike us.
Although Larry is Canadian, so he is also acquainted with the Great White North.
You know how deep the snow gets in the woods?
Snow in Canada.
Yeah. Anyway, that's whatever. It's a minor detail.
And then ran.
Maybe the snowplow just came through, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Like a moose going through snow. Yeah. It's crazy.
Geez, I don't even know. I mean, you're right.
This you down.
Yeah, I know. Anything I say, he's just going to attack me on the Discord anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, well, out of the two of you, which one's actually finished some comics and knows what they're talking about?
Yeah, I know, but okay, well, none of the panels are comic ready because they need to be rewritten. There's sounds and actions and stuff like that just don't work in panels. So
fair point.
Yeah. So yeah, that's about all I got. So
Erwin.
I'd like to see somewhere where these two I know there's a relationship story between these two twins. I'm just assuming that.
Good point.
I'm just assuming that there is.
It's in the name. It's in the title.
Yeah.
We know they're twins.
Why they're
in the
so
title.
distinguishable.
I mean, I'm saying I'm sure that there's a story of their relationship in this story. Like within this story, there is a beginning and middle and end regarding their relationship.
They could just be friends. What you're saying is they could just be friends. They don't feel like twins.
And so I want to see that story advanced or clued us in upon in these 5 pages. If it could just be, I think I do see that he's trying to make it fast paced and big panels and stuff. But one of them should say something to the other one or give the other one a look or something when the other one's murdering.
That's a really important point because twins have this characteristic where often in cases there's studies that have been done where they create their own language. It's a unique, I think they call it an isolate language or something like that, where it doesn't relate to anything else. It's something they've developed on their own. And it would be really cool to have that be the subtext of this, where he invents a language that these two twins communicate with each other, single lines here and there and stuff that happen, because that really does happen with twins. So it has some basis in reality that he could justify so that they're more related to each other. That's a really good point, Erwin.
Yeah, and a simple beginning, middle, end type story for the relationship might be just a differentiation story, and this could be the beginning of it, where one twin starts behaving in a way that's very different from the other twin, and they realize it, and they look at each other or they say something. Anyways, that's just my thought.
Danny.
I think the nuns that are chasing the girls need to be carrying firearms.
Or rulers. What about rulers? What if they're waving rulers at them? Because nuns are
helicopters.
I actually agree with John Lamont. I think they should be carrying only classroom tools.
Board erasers.
I think board erasers.
Yes, throw erasers.
and I don't think the escape scene was well planned out enough. I think they should have stopped for longer and discussed what provisions to take after murdering the nun. They should have just hung out in the kitchen for a lot.
Oh no, I disagree. I like it.
Actually, that was a point too I was going to make. They got provisions for themselves, but fuck the other kids. So
that's right. No, I like
that. And hold on, I'm not done. This is my turn to talk. Yeah. I think my constructors are the nuns should be brandishing weapons. You should extend the scene in the kitchen pantry with the discussion about how long they're talking and like what they're going to bring with them. And I really think this needs to be, the place where we finally meet the person who is responsible for framing them for a murder. Because if this is the end of issue 1,
yes,
and their parents are already dead,
yes,
and you have no conflict to really continue into issue 2 aside from a flashback. And while flashbacks are in fact always more compelling than present stories, I just don't see how you're going to provide a satisfying ending unless we've seen who it is who's accusing these ladies of being vile, soulless murderers. So you should fix all of those problems.
Yeah.
John Lamont.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Danny. I think they should maybe cook a full course meal. That would be awesome. They should feed all of the kids in the orphanage before they all go out on their trip.
Yes.
You know, like
maybe they can eat all the kids in the orphanage, like bring up their strength.
Right, exactly. And
their twin powers. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The cannibalistic twin powers.
Yes.
Maybe they could eat the nun. They could serve her as the meal.
That's where my mind went when you're talking.
Yeah, John, that would be dramatic, and we can't have that. There is no drama allowed in this.
No, they could serve the nun to all of the kids to get their strength, and then they get like, you know, because like wasn't it like the indigenous peoples that would eat the flesh of their the other tribes that they would capture and murder and butcher and all of that, and then they would eat them because they felt that they were absorbing their magical life force and all of that.
That was the reality. You know, Rutgers have nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
So what? Well, you just magic it all up. You have them eat it, and then they all get strong, and then that's how they can go and run out into the snow. Maybe that's how they can run on the snow.
That might be how they could do it. Yes, I agree.
I mean, I saw some of the concept art. I thought they were swimming through the snow.
There you go.
Oh boy.
Hey, Chat GPT is really good at that. Anyway, like,
right.
No human being could have ever done art that good.
Well, I mean,
Diane. Any ideas how that could have been made better?
You mean the entire book or just that scene?
I think 4 or 5 pages, they weren't too bad. I mean, when you look at it over the entire story, I'm like, all right, you started off with these women had a traumatic backstory because their parents were like cannibals or something.
Again,
they killed the guy in the shower, right?
But
I still want that intro.
But then we were like that UT Austin, and they were trying to track down the person who was framing them for a bad rep, and then they investigated that, and there was some
they beat up some bullies, and they walked through a lit hallway in the middle of the day very sneakily.
Yeah.
And then they stole a photograph, and then they broke
somehow
they analyzed some fingerprints
on pencils.
Then they beat up the guy in the apartment. Yes, that's right.
Then they went back to their apartment, and they're like, "Oh, there's domestic violence going on next door. I got to go solve that problem." And then I'm trying to figure out how we got here.
It's all flashback, dude.
It's all flashback.
Yeah. This is a flashback. I feel like this is a flashback.
So the issue ends in the middle of a flashback.
Right. Yes, that's what I'm saying. The issue ends in the middle of a flashback.
Perfect. Yeah.
And you got to pick a conflict, right? Is the conflict that they're trying to find out who's framing them for violent acts? Then show me who that is, right? Like, you get back to that, because now we're off.
No, now he's successfully shown us that their reputation for violent acts is 100% undeserved.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely, yes.
That's the lesson that we learned when they strangled the nun to death.
Yes.
Which we don't even know what the nun did. So I mean, it's like.
I mean,
that's great. Yeah. We might not remember what the nun did.
Okay,
the nun pimped them out to the priest.
Okay.
They're not boys.
Yeah. There we go.
That was my thing. That's what I said that. But yeah, so the nun pimped them out to the priest in a previous issue. But all of the sexual assault happened off screen.
Okay.
So she pimped them out. The priest gave them some dirty looks, and then the scene ended. And then we cut to them later where the one sister is in her cot crying and the other sister goes and comforts her. And then we cut to this scene.
And my note remains, I still honestly don't really know the difference between the twins. I know they have different names. I don't know
twins because the title says they're twins.
I know they have different
Your
personalities.
Yeah, I don't know if they have different personalities.
I know one's like has a teddy bear and that's about it.
Right.
But it's not
One
really
dresses like a
mentioned.
slut and the other one doesn't dress at all.
Okay.
Because
That's your
remember
fantasy.
in the high school college scene when they were going into the college, he perfectly detailed and described the one character as dressing like a slut and the other character didn't mention a thing about what she was wearing.
There you go.
Oh, so there's the slutty one and then the other one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So I guess
Turns out both of them are horrible murderers with an undeserved reputation for violence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so maybe in some of the art direction that was clearly implied and not stated, we actually see any of that.
Anyway, that's what I got for today. So Danny, do you need us to go over some other pages?
I do, yeah. So everyone was actually really excited at the end of the reading last week to find out what happens next.
Okay.
And also Robert sort of missed it.
Okay.
And also my client would like to know what you guys think about whether or not we stick the landing. So
The
why don't we like read the last few pages?
Okay. Of the callers list.
Yes.
Okay.
Let me
Fill in my download folders here.
find a reference. I think we're in like I don't know, page 8 or whatever might be a good place to start. We can like catch up.
Robert was here for this.
No,
We showed up right
Anymore?
after.
I was late.
Oh, okay. So I was going to say, Robert, you haven't missed a stream in a while. But I guess if you were late,
He
that
was,
would make
he was
sense.
at the stream, but he was late for this, and actually, I am truly curious as to what he has to say.
So right here, page 8, starting with Interior Distress Center
Yes,
office.
the montage is fine. Let's start with the montage.
All
All
right.
right. If you want to zoom in a little, I'll read it.
There you go.
Interior Distress Sentry office days later. Montage. The deterioration of AJ. AJ's condition crumbles in the weeks to come. His desk grows increasingly cluttered, and his appearance grows increasingly disheveled. But there's still there on the phone. But yes, here's still there on the phones, using callers as his personal therapy partners. From the walls, the rejection letter taunts him. The theme of rejection surrounds AJ from a motivational poster that cheerfully reminds him, don't hang in there. Rejected once means rejected forever, to a self-help book entitled How to Abuse the Powerless to Make Yourself Feel Better, to a computer screensaver reading Fernwood Heights Distress Sentry, where your problems don't matter as much as ours do. He still answers phones. The rejection letter still taunts him. That damned lost callers list seems to have gotten longer. Deborah comes in joyfully with several empty confection trays, celebrating a successful bake sale, cheerfully offering AJ his own Fernwood Heights t-shirt. The front has a print of a stethoscope and reads, don't worry, I'm going to be a doctor. And when she returns to, stop.
Wow.
I'm an old man. I can't see that far away.
All right.
When she returns to her table, thank you,
Okay.
to eat some of the fast food, AJ notices the back of her shirt features an image of his face with a big red X through it and reads, better luck next time.
Harsh.
Nevertheless, AJ talks to callers. The voices blend together, a cacophony of shattering voices asking for help, soon to be taken over by AJ's unhealthy fixation on rejection. The voice crackles. AJ's work life is a hell of his own making. End montage. Interior Distress Sentry office months later. AJ slumps over his desk, holding the phone to his ear, a shell of his former arrogant self.
All I ever wanted was to be remembered, you know?
Sure. But if you'd let me finish, I really think he's cheating on me. And I don't
understand why it wasn't enough.
The line crackles. The voice returns.
Maybe you're looking for acceptance in the wrong place.
AJ flinches and lays his head on the desk. Energy spent.
Not you again.
Why wouldn't it be? Have you done any good in this world, AJ? How's that list looking? Keeps getting longer, doesn't it?
Why don't you just stop? Can't you leave me alone?
Me. You've been here for half a year, AJ, being little more than a self-absorbed brat. I wonder, are you here because you want to help people? Or because you want them to help you?
No.
Did you spell those names right when you wrote them on the list?
A knock is heard at the door. The door beeps at the sound of a dead line. Or the phone beeps the sound of a dead line. The voice has gone.
We're open? You can come in. That was my best confused exclamation.
I got a delivery here, but it needs a signature.
Interior, exterior, doorway, continuous. AJ goes to the entrance and cautiously opens the door. The delivery man from months ago, the very one who delivered AJ's rejection letter, stands sopping wet as if he never left position from their previous encounter. His face is plastered with a wide, utterly creepy smile. Think evil clown. The badge on his vest reads AJ. AJ steps back, aghast. The man opens his mouth, only to have the same distorted voice emerge, this time intensified.
Do something with your life.
I think we'll just use the voice.
Do something with your life, AJ. Live for something more than lines on your resume. Be more than your transcript. Your acceptance letter.
AJ notices the badge has the same name as his. Now he's the one in the delivery uniform, wet, miserable, and holding a parcel. As the vision ends, the original AJ gets defensive, taken aback.
No. I need to leave this place. I want to do something worth remembering.
If you keep going like this, you won't. You don't leave. You don't get over yourself. And the only thing to remember, you will be that list.
Uh-oh.
The man hands AJ his delivery, a postal box filled to the brim with funeral programs, with a large photo of future AJ plastered on front, along with the epitaph, "He never gave a damn about anybody else."
Harsh.
Interior, exterior, distress, centre, office, continuous, shaking. AJ examines his funeral program. Then he remembers the voice said something about the list. He looks to the wall and stands terrified, breathing heavily as his eyes scan their way down the lost caller list, near tears until he sees it. His name has been inscribed on the lost callers list. The room fades to silence. The sound of silence. AJ looks around him cautiously. He is alone once more. The postal box lies on the ground, its pages spilling out on the floor. Deborah comes in, bustling in from the back, whistling her usual cheery tune and carrying a pile of office supplies. She eyes the mess of pages on the floor.
Be Deborah.
Oh dear, you dropped all those fundraiser flyers.
Fundraising flyer?
He looks down at the pages scattered across the floor, sees them as flyers for oncoming fundraisers. He stands stunned. He turns this way and that, looking around the space. The rejection posters are now gone from the walls, replaced by their original positive messages. AJ runs over to examine the lost callers list, but then sees it's nothing but a poster looking for volunteers to help with this summer's fundraising gala.
That's impossible.
Never say never. You'd be surprised how many people want to pitch in to make their community a better place. I mean, I don't know why you'd be surprised, since you're one of them.
AJ turns to Deborah, panicked.
No, Deborah. The lost callers list. Where did it go?
A thought comes to his mind. Deborah comes over and squints at the wall.
Lost callers list? Ain't ringing a bell to me.
AJ stands, thinking. Then he turns back to Deborah, resolved.
That's because it's new. I'm making one.
Initiative. I like it. Looks like I'll need to update your reference letter. Tell me, what's this lost callers list all about?
I think it's about time we honor the memory of the callers we lost. Even if we try our best, we can only do so much. But it's a way to remind ourselves that we can help people pick themselves up again. And every time we do, we give someone a chance to make a better life.
He takes a piece of paper and write the lost callers list at the top. Then pins it to the wall. Deborah nods, clearly inspired. The phone rings.
Would you look at that? It's like another caller knew that you were ready for them. I'll leave you to it.
She winks, heads out of the office. AJ settles into his seat, ready.
Fernwood Heights Distress Center.
See, you do know how to spell center. AJ remembers
Spell
something.
center wrong.
Smiles.
What's your name? How can I help?
As AJ helps this new caller, his gaze can't help but be drawn to the new empty callers list. He wishes it'll stay that way. Interior Distress Center office years later. The first lost callers list sits behind glass, beside a plaque indicating it was a community service contribution invented by AJ, last name MD. Fade to black.
AJ needs a better last name.
Yeah, that one's a little bland.
That was a little bland.
Slightly
Last
generic.
name, surname.
Yeah.
Surname.
Well, all right. We had a short about a guy who was rejected and was really focused on it. And he kind of flipped out and his world collapsed. But it turned out it was just like a vision that came, like a crazy stress fever dream. He awoke from it. The world was fine. He was inspired to do better things. And he became a doctor, which was his lifelong goal anyway. Hooray. What can I say, Danny? It's positive. I like it. Good work. What do you think, Dan?
I liked how this ran. It's very quippy. And you still get the conflict in there with the voice. Still not entirely sure if this is his consciousness or his guilt or actually someone stalking him. Don't know yet.
It's the ghost of present, past, and future.
That's what it kind of sounds like.
Yeah, Danny Scrooged him.
Yeah.
Yes. He's Scrooge. Yeah.
Yeah. So that seems to be like, oh, you need to be better, person. So kind of like that. So I'm kind of eager to find out what happens. So Deborah seems really oblivious to all this.
I mean, there was evil Deborah and there was good Deborah, right?
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. This is a flashback, I believe. This was a flashback because it goes years later.
I mean, or maybe that was a flash forward, or just
definitely a flash forward.
Oh, it was a flash forward?
Yeah, flash forward / epilogue. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You can do that.
Yeah.
Robert.
Okay. I liked it. I liked the self-doubt overlay of his experience from moment to moment, and I think that's the strength that needs to be ideally present in more of the first part. I don't know that it was in the first
you could
part.
just turn your camera off.
Yeah. Turn the camera off.
There you go.
Good.
We'll be here waiting for you.
Yeah. So I liked it. I liked the pace of it as well, because I had a sense of the panic increasing as each real world encounter that he had was colored by his self-doubt. The posters on the wall, the voice taking over on a caller, the delivery guy at the door, the flyers on the floor and everything. So I think that's good. And this is intended to be a short film. I recall you saying.
It is, yes. So I'm story editing this, and I'll also be working on it with the director, like on set.
Okay. Well, I'll have some constructives we'll get to then.
Yay.
Erwin, you there? Larry.
Well,
Yo.
he's dealing with something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm here. I missed the first of it because my stream decided to crap out. But anyway, yeah, it's really nicely paced. I like the back and forth between the different states of reality. You're bringing in that liminal space thing, which is nice. It's very popular right now. So yeah, that's how you do flashes. Just putting that out there. So anyway, so it's really good. I liked it.
You got any way you can make it better, Larry?
Any way you can make it better?
Yeah.
Well, can I go?
Well,
all right, John.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Yeah. So two good points I wanted to bring out. One, as a short film goes, I think you successfully told a coherent story in a single location with limited number of actors, which is difficult to do, but necessary when you're doing a short film on a shoestring budget. And the second positive thing I wanted to say is, last time when you presented these pages, I was talking about various ways I thought the story was going to go, and I can say you surprised me, because when I was thinking about where it would go, Scrooging him was not one of the things that I thought about. So in that regard, you at least, I mean, when it happened, obviously I knew what it was, but up until it happened, yeah, I didn't know where it was going to go or how it was going to be resolved in the limited time frame that there was left.
Welcome back, Erwin.
Hey. Yeah.
What do you think?
Wrong button. Hey, yeah, I thought the last 3 pages, the last 3 or 4 pages, kind of moved pretty briskly, yeah, I liked how sort of it was kind of like a 2-in-1 type of thing where his name was on the list of the lost callers, and then it was on the list of the volunteers, right? It was like and then he had his realization, which kind of was done, happened kind of like it was done. It happened wordlessly, right? And so that was kind of an interesting sort of turning point for
you mean without dialogue. When you say wordless, you mean without dialogue.
Yeah, because I mean, so yeah, I liked it. I liked the last 3 or 4 pages. Yeah.
So you think we stuck the landing pretty well? I mean, sorry, I know it's not my time to interrupt, but like it was definitely a thing that you in specific mentioned being worried about last week.
Oh yeah, these shorts always have a twist at the end, and it was a good twist at the end. Unlike John, I just assumed that this AJ in the hallway was going to be the sort of another AJ or a future AJ, or the AJ, some other AJ that he either wanted or didn't want to be or shouldn't be or was an alternative AJ. So that wasn't surprising to me. But yeah, I think that second AJ sort of adapting the voice, I think that could use something. I'm not sure what. To me, it felt a little clunky. I don't know how to describe it, but I mean, maybe there could be some little joke that coincides with it, some little gag, something something funny regarding that. Just to acknowledge, yeah, hey, we did this thing, we writers, did this thing, and look, it's kind of funny, huh? Anyways, so yeah, I think the final the final metamorphosis of this young man was done pretty smoothly. Yeah.
Robert.
One thing I wanted to point out, I was trying to look for it on the script in the thing. You mentioned something about what he's thinking, which of course we can't see. I forget where it is now.
Well, no. I actually have a comment on that too, but he's actually saying it. He's saying, "I think we should do this," and he's saying it to Deborah. So he's not thinking it.
No. It's another line. I'll try to find it when somebody else is talking. So I think that there were. I don't know how to put this. I'd like to see it just a little bit more distinct on each. I don't know. I'm not sure how to do this visually. I'm sure I can figure it out. I'm sure you can as well, or the woman who wrote it. It's for each of the incidents where he is experiencing these delusions of doubt, this self-doubt that he has, that they become a little bit more intense, and visually, I'd like to see it be, really like super intense, like, maybe the colors become more intense. I don't want to see the Ripley effect or glows, but something along the lines that distinguish it, and use that visual build as they get weirder and weirder and weirder as he does it, because you have that pacing in the dialogue and his experience of it. But I think visually it just seems like the same thing again and again. Going back to the first part, which I read, I can't really remember all of it, but I remember the very first part of it from reading the script. There's a lot of humdrum, the daily grind of being in an office, things getting shredded and stuff like that. And I think that's what he's reacting to is that, I'm trying to do something big with my life, and I'm watching stuff getting shredded, and I'm listening to people complain about things. And it's, so he's the self-doubt is beginning to build. And I'd like to see a visual cue in there somewhere where that becomes built right up to the last minute until he realizes that, oh my God, those are the the fundraising flyers, and all the weird posters and negative statements and things are gone. My screensaver's back to normal, and I'm not on the lost list. What's a lost list? And all of a sudden you're back into clear cinematography, visualization, and everything. So we have more of a visual cue that he's, having a panic attack, basically, is what it is.
Yeah.
And going through that and having it be just visually enhanced. And I didn't see that in any of the descriptions of that occurring. I heard it in the dialogue, but I didn't see it in any of the, the, if you will, the aesthetics of the visual part. And that definitely needs to be conveyed to the director, not camera direction, but he's, everything has a glow around it, and I don't understand what's going on. Why does it look so weird? Even that's kind of on the nose, but getting it out there somehow. That's it for me. I liked it, and you did stick it, by the way, in the end. Absolutely. I think it comes a little bit suddenly. Maybe there could be a slow build up to seeing the congratulations, the long list and stuff, going through the office, buzzing, and everybody happy and everything working really well. And then slowly panning up to the list and saying, thank you so much for having done this. And we dedicate this to Dr. last name MD, That's it.
So my thought was,
Go ahead, John.
So I know it's kind of tropey, so I don't know if you don't want to do this or not. I don't really watch CinemaSins anymore, but they used to do this thing where when somebody would quote the title of the movie, he would come in and be like, roll credits. And I feel like you kind of have that moment here. I had to go back and look it up because I kind of felt like, so when Deborah says, tell me, what's this lost callers list all about? I kind of feel like his follow-up line, which is like a short monologue, I think it's about time we honor the memory of the callers we lose, blah, blah, blah. I kind of feel like that is kind of a roll credits line for Deborah. And I don't know if we even need the next page, if that paragraph, if we have an understanding of what the lost callers list is by the time we get to that point, I don't, maybe like move that.
So
Like
we
the
did
need
actually
for that.
mention it in the stuff last week, like when the voice starts talking to him, the voice drops the name as well.
Right. Well, my whole point is I don't know if we don't need that line where AJ basically explains the plot, because that's kind of what he's doing with this monologue. He's explaining the plot of the short. If we don't need that, then I think we can go to tell me what's this lost callers list all about, cut to black, credits roll, and then that distress center memo line behind the glass just sits in the background as the credits roll up. And I think you can cut that last page and make it a little bit punchier if we end on Deborah's line. If we don't need that monologue, because I don't know if we do. And if the need for that monologue can be answered or dealt with prior to Deborah's line, then I think you can make your ending a little bit more punchier by simply going out on that. Again, it is kind of cliched, so I understand if you don't want to do it. But you know, it's again, there is a reason why people do it, and it's like, and I just kind of felt like her saying that, oh, what's the lost callers list? You know, or maybe you rearrange it where he says, I think we need to do a list where we do X, Y, and Z. He explains the plot, and then maybe she says, oh, that sounds like a great idea. What should we call it? And then he says, I know, we should call it the lost callers list. And you could do it that way too, and then cut to black, and then we show the thing as the credits roll. That would be my thought on how to make the ending punchier. But again, as I said, it is a little cliche, so take it for what it is.
Danny, I've got an idea for you, and I don't usually like to throw these things out, just like because if it represents like an overhaul of one's entire story.
Yes.
But I'm wondering what it would be like if the voice it may in part be, you know, like AJ's conscience, but the voice is also a troubled soul, and the voice eventually becomes a lost caller by the end of the call. And then when the older AJ or the delivery man shows up, he is that lost caller, the guy who kind of lost his way. And AJ kind of sees that, rather than having like this sort of come to Jesus. I don't know, this sort of this conscience calling type of event. He kind of sees the face of the lost caller, and it's him. You know, it's himself. I don't know. It's just a thought.
Can I ask you some questions about that, just to clarify?
Sure.
Okay, sorry. So the delivery man is the lost caller and is also AJ from the future?
Right. Like,
okay.
Yeah.
And so I guess the voice is the same either way. And AJ becomes sympathetic in engaging with this human.
Maybe he's really harsh with this guy on the phone. You know,
I want to say that I enjoy Charles Dickens, and every year I watch A Christmas Carol, and it's a great story. I already know the story. I still like the story. And you know, like we're Scrooge. He's a miserable guy, and you know, like his partner comes to him as a ghost and says, "You're going to get visited," and he explains the plot. And at the end, he's like, "Oh, the ghost did it, or maybe it was all a dream." But like that's something that we, the audience, can go, "Oh, it was a dream," or "Oh, it was ghosts," or whatever. But everybody in A Christmas Carol stays fairly consistent, right?
Yeah.
Like, like Jacob Marley's Jacob Marley, like whoever his clerk is that he gives the raise to at the end, Bob Cratchit.
Bob Cratchit. Yeah.
Like everybody's the same, right? In this story, I don't know why Deborah, unlike the Christmas Carol where Jacob Marley comes and goes, you're going to get visited by three spirits. Here, just stuff's happening to him, and I don't exactly know why. Why is he in this weird dimension where everything bad is happening, where Deborah's really out for him, where his world is falling apart and people are dying because he's a bad, phone operator for the call line.
Also,
and then,
with all this stuff happening, if he's so bad, why haven't they just let him go?
Yeah, there's that. I mean,
if you failed, after a while, if so many people have committed suicide on your watch,
I know.
Shouldn't he be fired?
Here.
Yeah, and maybe he should be investigated.
Right. So, the contrivance of the plot that he goes through this, bad time, this crucible, to borrow our movie term. Okay. Why is he going through it? I don't understand the rules. He's the delivery man. Oh, but now he's the delivery. Why? It seems trippy. And at the end, I'm left going, okay, well, what was that really all about? A guy was just down on his luck and lacked confidence, and then he thought better of it, and now he's a doctor. I mean, okay. It doesn't have the heart that A Christmas Carol does, we don't see that. No,
she's not Charles Dickens. Wow.
Yeah,
neither am I.
Right, I understand, but
okay. So, again, at the risk of justifying myself, the delivery man is not future AJ. That is specifically a plot point that I extirpated with extreme prejudice from the first draft of the script. I think this is a terrible Back to the Future story. I think it's a fine Christmas Carol story. But it did not work for me at all. With Back to the Future vibes.
So that's supposed to be AJ from the future?
No, it's 100% not.
Oh, okay.
Which is, they have similar names but not the same name. He just sees.
I thought it was just like the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come.
I thought it was him. I thought he was looking at himself.
No.
The ghost was handing him the flyers of his funeral, which is straight out of Christmas Carol. Scrooge looking at the gravestone,
100%.
That is straight up that. Marty McFly doesn't go back to his younger self and hand him a crate full of flyers for his funeral.
In response to that, AJ imagines himself as that person and does not like it. And that totally does happen, but it's not supposed to literally be that person.
Right. He could project himself onto the other person.
So that we have a vision of AJ seeing himself in the suit. That's
Do we see that?
Yes.
We see
the
the
problem
name.
is delivery man's named AJ and AJ's named AJ, and it's a little bit confusing.
Well, that's not a problem. That's a clue. I mean, that's the clue that here's how I saw it. That says that's AJ, and AJ's talking to himself, and the conscious ghosts of Dickens, speaking to Scrooge. This is his moral compass acting up.
Look, I should just lean more into Dickens. I mean,
absolutely you should.
Story.
Absolutely should. Okay, here's what you do. So you do the goes to past, present, and future. You got the future at the door. That's nailed down. So do an early phone call. Maybe something in the beginning talks about his past, and you got Ghost. The voice talks to him about his past. You got Ghost of Christmas Past. Then the voice can talk to him about something about in the present. You got Ghost of Christmas Present. Then you got the voice showing up with the box of the flyer things. You got Ghost. There you do. You got all your 3 year ghosts. Then
the only other minor thing.
Then the only other minor thing.
Asshole.
Well, he's not an
so
asshole.
Scrooge.
Scrooge is an asshole. AJ is not. AJ is self-doubt.
Oh, he absolutely is. Because you've got AJ.
Get over here and give notes.
Here's another thing. Okay, so and of course I haven't read the book since I was forced to read it in high school, but I've seen the movies multiple times. So you've got the kid singing on the door stoop that he yells at. So that could be the first caller that he's on the phone with. Just lean into the story beats. And then the only thing is Preston is right about if you were going to make Deborah Cratchit, because her character goes a complete one is too off-putting on that. So if you can't do something with that, I would try to keep her character more consistent, like the Bob Cratchit character was.
I wrote Deborah to the actor's audition tape in the rewrite. Like, I think it'll land.
What?
Okay.
I'm just saying.
That's I do not like being in
I'm-
that place as a writer. It's fucking weird.
I was just spitballing ideas of leaning into
Yeah,
Christmas
no,
Carol trope.
I like this,
and I think that there's some story beats you could lean into, and I think you can use the callers as a way to do that. Cover our three ghosts. Maybe Deborah starts out as Marley and then turns into Cratchit. You could maybe pull that off. I don't know, but yeah, I think if that's the route that you want to go, then I would say, lean into it a little bit more. And I think you could, then when the ending comes, people will kind of already suspect that they know what they're getting. Or as soon as AJ shows up with the thing and they're looking at the list of funeral invitations, if they hadn't figured out by then they'll be like, oh, this is Christmas future, and then they'll be like, oh, and that was past, and that was present, and that's that person, and then the whole thing clicks, and then they're on board for his
I like this
turnaround where he's now post Ghost Scrooge.
Okay, I'm going to have to say I don't like that degree of mapping to that story. I do like Preston's point that it's very clear what the story is of what's going on. I think that clarity can be derived in a cinematic form by the visuals as his vision starts to change, as the panic starts to take over, because he's having a major league panic attack is what's going on.
Yes,
and his panic is absolutely needs to be somehow conveyed. And I'm just keep saying visually because I think the dialogue is okay. In terms of it shows it's there. I do think the dialogue could use some more. But I've got one more thing I want to bring up before we go to that. Sorry.
Are we doing another script tonight?
No, actually, I was going to say you can save it for next week.
But look at Viviac snarls in rage, right?
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Okay, hold on. I just want to finish up one thing with Danny. There's here. I went back to the script and I pulled a couple of things out. Here's the lines that I said were thought lines as opposed to what you would normally put in there. The voice gives AJ a moment to let it sink in. Okay. That's not a visual. Another line somewhere further down in the description. Then he remembers the voice said something about the list. How do we show he remembered? And then AJ, this is actual part of dialogue. AJ stands thinking. Okay. That's a direction. Then he turns back to Deborah resolved. So those are two very internal things that are going on. And so that's where I say, in terms of those areas that you've written, that's more of a technical thing that needs to be clarified somehow in the descriptions of what's happening to AJ at that point. Right now, we have to have a solid view of AJ and what he's going through so that we see the panic. He should become disheveled as he goes through all this thing. And then he's all neat and pretty again. When she walks in and says, yeah, what's going on? What list? What are these flyers doing on the floor? And he realizes he's been having this panic attack. I think you should stick closer with what you've got than mapping it too closely against Christmas Carol, because you're not setting up AJ as a Scrooge. I reject that. Simple.
All right. Well,
I think the writer gets to make that decision, but
they will make that decision.
The writer doesn't get to make that decision. The director gets to make a lot of that decision.
There you go.
But nevertheless, this is plenty to work with. I'm really glad that we stuck the landing, and I thank you guys for your patience in coming back to this script.
Sure.
Of course.
Because I think a lot of these notes are going to make it better in the end.
Let's hope so.
Well, they always do.
All right. Awesome. So next week we'll have Larry's script and Irwin's script, and I came to me in a flash. I understand where Lords of Iron is going. Yay!
Yeah.
Do you? Okay.
So
whatever happened to Steel Rain?
Steel Rain.
Oh,
Oh,
and
was that the one with the sentient tank and the guy who was in love with it?
Well, I was hoping it would have a
and they
sentient
were going to
tank.
go to Austin and
I
kill a bunch of
posted that
zombies
tank that ran
together?
over everything in San Diego. I mean, we
Yeah.
could start there.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's Draco's script, but we'll have another Draco script.
I mean, whatever happened
we'll
to
have
any
a
of Draco's script?
The sad thing about
Yeah.
Draco's script is
Yeah.
if you end up liking it, you'll never know what happens.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that is, you know what? I'm going to say this aloud. That this is actually a problem with Draco's scripts is that if we like it, it's actually worse
Yeah.
because he's never going to come back to it. So why would we bother to try and like any of them?
It's true.
I mean,
I love the sentient tank. I just think
Yeah.
there's so many ways you can
loved
make
the
that
Sentient
happen.
Tag too, man. It was great. And I don't care if it was just my headcanon. I wanted to see that movie.
Yeah. All right. Well, next week we'll see what happens. Good night, everyone.
Good night,
Bye.
everybody.
Thanks
Yeah.
for the
Good meeting.
crackly stuff Diane's doing there in the background. But anyway, good night, everyone.
Hey, Preston, can I
Yeah.
should I direct message you on
Yes.
Discord?
Discord. That's fine. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right,
Bye.
cool. Talk
Okay.
to you later.
Ciao, everybody.
See you guys
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.